psychics. Because psychics back then were like people were distraught over, like even now, like grief, like people lose a loved one and they want to see if there's the afterlife that their loved ones in that afterlife, and these psychics would prey on these people um, to try to get money out of them and stuff. And Houdini and Price would go out there and try to debunk these mediums. So
I see. Okay. That's the connection there. All right.
yeah, that's the connection. But apparently, he also used to hang with Aleister Crowley, and Aleister Crowley, he did some weird shit. I mean, that's an episode of Weekend Weird right there that we could do on Aleister Crowley, even though other shows have done it. Mainly the last podcast on the left, they love bringing up that guy,
Well,
Aleister Crowley.
apparently, he started his own religion, and
Yes.
wow, the stuff on here is a lot. We should do an episode about this guy.
Yeah, we really should. It might be either the end of the year or next year. I don't know.
Damn.
Just so
Okay.
much stuff.
Yeah. Keep that in mind. Anyways.
Yeah.
Back to our story.
But Henry Bull was the main investigator of the Borley Rectory. He heard the story. He came out there many times. Hell, there a couple of years after this, he ended up renting the place for a year and having psychic and paranormal investigations all throughout the rectory and the church. But we'll get to that a little bit later for what things that he's done. But he sees this again, sees a Daily Mirror article, and he goes out there and takes a look at it. And also, the Smiths had originally wanted the Daily Mirror, to put them in contact with the Society of Psychological Research. So that was the main point of putting it in the Daily Mirror. So Harry Price arrives at the home in June, and immediately the phenomenon of a new kind appeared, such as the throwing of stones, a vase, and other objects. Spirit messages, were tapped out from the frame of the mirror, and as soon as Price left, these ceased. Smith's wife later maintained that she already suspected Price, expert conjurer, of falsifying the phenomenon. So that's your first instance that, hey, Harry might have came to this place and saw it was like, it might be haunted. It started fabricating some of the hauntings because, again, the Smiths didn't experience anything when they got into the home, or if they did, they shut up about it.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about it. But all of a sudden, Harry Price shows up, and it starts becoming, if it is haunted, and they're not saying anything about it, now it's becoming noticeable, and they can't deny it, or nothing is going on in this house. But all of a sudden, Harry Price shows up, and shit started to go awry. So, and then when Harry Price leaves, they stop.
I see.
What's your thoughts so far?
I think this guy has some motivation to be loud about the hauntings. I think he's got some monetary gain from it. This Harry Price guy,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously some contradictions in the stories. Like some people report seeing stuff, other people say no. I mean, going all the way, like even from the beginning, going all the way back to the story of the monk and the supposed beheading and everything. Like even that's debated pretty heavily here, whether it was a true story or not. So no, could just continue. Like there's contradictions here so far.
Right. But come to find out that the Smiths did experience a couple of paranormal issues that they were downplaying, but they still wanted people to come to home. Like I forgot to tell this part of the story. When they first moved in, Mrs. Smith was cleaning out the cupboard one night, and came across a brown paper bag. In the bag,
what's in the bag?
was a skull of a young woman,
What?
supposedly.
In the cupboard?
In a cover in a brown paper bag. Supposedly, she discovered the skull of a young woman.
Whose fucking skull was in the cupboard in the kitchen?
We have no idea because there's no more information onto the skull. So either, again, they're downplaying it or someone's really blowing up this story.
Interesting. All right.
Some of the other members of the Smith family reported a variety of other incidents, including sounds of servant bells ringing. But they disconnected the servant bell, like the Bulls had a servant bell system in the house, but it was disconnected once the last Bull moved out, and it stayed disconnected. But yet the bells are still ringing according to some certain people. Also, lights appearing in the windows and unexplained footsteps.
So just some freaky shit going on.
Some freaky shit going on, but still, they kind of downplaying it a little bit.
Okay.
Because they want people to come to the rectory. So the Smiths finally, they were like, "Look, we can't take this shit no more. We're sick of it. Like we're out the door." So July of 1929, the Smiths left the rectory, and the parish had some difficulty finding a replacement. Again, the rectory is used for the head priest in charge of the church. If you're having a hard time getting people to stay at the rectory, you're having a hard time trying to find someone to run the church.
And you're going to have a hard time getting people to come to your church in the first place because they think there's some weird stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. Like who wants to go to a place where it's like, oh, like, hey, let's take, for example, your local neighborhood McDonald's. It's your local neighborhood McDonald's. It's the closest one by you, but supposedly it's haunted by the ghost of JJ, homeless person who like crapping in the faucet and taking baths in the toilet.
Talking about Nick.
Like, stay with me.
I feel like this is a personal story you're telling at this point.
Yeah, remember, like, going off topic for a second. Remember, when they tore down the McDonald's across the street from Wrigley Field?
Yes.
And there was people who were so angry about it, they were calling into the radio talk shows in the city, mostly 670 The Score, saying how the memories they had of going to Cubs games and first stopping at that McDonald's across the street. This is before the Cubs came.
They rebuilt it. It's there now.
Yes, it's there, and like one of the hosts got so angry at these calls. He's like, "What are y'all fucking talking about? They're rebuilding a new McDonald's because they built a hotel structure across the street. Yeah. Like, they're building a better fucking McDonald's for you, and you're still bitching." It was like, "No, you don't get it. It's like my father took me there, my first Cubs game, and we went across the street to the McDonald's to get an egg McMuffin. And I've always cherished it." It's like, shut the fuck up. And when like he was telling people to shut up, he's like, "I go into McDonald's, it's the worst McDonald's there, and thank God they tore it down. Like, I would go into the bathroom at McDonald's and there are homeless people taking baths in the sink." Literally washing their ass fucking in the damn sink.
Dude, there was some shady characters that hung around in that McDonald's.
Yeah.
Past them. Yep.
Yeah, the McDonald's and that Taco Bell. I would refuse to eat there.
People forget what like that area used to be like before it got built up.
And people were so like, this is our culture, this is our area, this is Wrigley Field. And he's just like, shut the fuck up, you stupid fucking Cubs fans.
Bro, they had to have something to hold on to.
Yeah, they were losers for 108 years.
Tangent, Nick. Let's bring it back.
Okay. I'm sorry.
But what you're saying is, if the place was haunted,
yes, if the
stories got out, people wouldn't come to the church.
Yeah, they wouldn't come to the church. You wouldn't come to McDonald's if it was haunted by someone defecating in the fucking sink, and washing themselves in the toilet. Would you come to that McDonald's, or it's like all of a sudden you in the drive-through and you see a headless race car driver trying to get a fucking Big Mac? Would you come to that McDonald's?
I mean,
No.
to answer your question completely, I would have plenty of reasons not to go to that McDonald's in the first place.
Right.
But haunted homeless people taking shits in the sink would also deter me from not going to that place.
Right. So, but eventually they were able to find a replacement. The following year, 1930, the Reverend Lionel Foster and his wife Mary Ann and their adopted daughter Adelaide moved into the rectory. Lionel wrote of accounts of various strange incidents that occurred between the time the Foresters moved in and in 1935, which was sent to Harry Price. These included bell ringing, window shattering, throwing of stones and bottles, wall writings, and the locking of their daughter in a room with no key. Mary Ann Forster reported to her husband a whole range of poltergeist phenomena, which included her being thrown from her bed. On one occasion, Adelaide was attacked by something horrible. Forster twice tried to conduct an exorcism, but his efforts didn't go anywhere. In the middle of the first exorcism, he was struck in the shoulder by a fist-sized stone.
What?
Yeah. So, okay, you have the Bulls. They were there, and mind you, the Forsters were the first cousins of the Bull family.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Smiths, and the hauntings are pretty much innocent, like strange footsteps, stuff going on, stuff like that. Henry Price shows up. They start escalating a little bit, but he leaves and start calming down. Then the Foresters show up, and all of a sudden, this spirit gets violent. Now it's not a haunting. Now it's technically a demonic possession.
Jesus Christ, okay.
That's never happened in the fucking history of haunting. No one's ever reported it. It just started off as, oh, it's just a regular old ghost sightings for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, fucking ghosts are whipping fucking stones at you like you're fucking some white comedian that's fucking telling terrible jokes at the Apollo.
Nick. All right. So
So,
nothing of a full-blown demonic possession.
Well, it's still not technically a demonic possession, even though Reverend Forster is treating it like a demonic possession by performing an exorcism, 2 exorcisms of that matter. But it's escalated.
Okay.
The haunting is escalated to the point where it's like literally whipping stones at people. Also, it's trying to communicate with Mary Ann. Like on a couple of occasions, she would find writings, mysterious writings, like on walls and stuff and on paper around the home. Like one letter. Here, let me try to find. Not a letter. Not the ghost is not writing a fucking letter. Like, dearest Anne, this haunting shall occur because we don't have enough Triscuits and bacon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please throw in an extra pinch of salt
into the stew tonight.
The mince pie.
Yeah, into the mince pie. Sincerely yours, the ghost. It was started writing like it. The Foresters estimated it was like 2,000 separate incidents that were occurring within a period of 14 months. I already said that. It was like one like scribble was like Marianne help me. One hit she said she found it's like said Marianne help me, and one which was totally like didn't make any sense. The letters were put in like such an order that it was unreadable.
Okay.
Like it was scribbles, so it was shit like that. Like Marianne help me, or Marianne help help yourself or something. So it escalated, and at that time,